Platform, TTPTV. Oh yeah. Unale we pledge, we love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as one. For tomorrow, now we go make salute.
Keep putting on to practice all you learn from me and heard from me and saw me doing. And the God of peace will be with you.
All right, that was President Julius Madabio speaking there. Another story, some residents within Freetown observed the independence celebration yesterday. These residents says they are happy with the peaceful atmosphere, adding that it should be used as a moment of reflection.
To like for go beach or any kind occasion, I can just do the celebration with the color. Then like now when my sister they go to school. And for that wear the color no more for me mama. For sure say I get
according to my observation, at the observed salon, saying that the country easy. But to the wish and praise, God make the country easy for we. At least me through the long life, everybody, everything stable, everything normal. So me, as for me, I don't say anything, but for me, I don't enjoy me independent.
So now I come and put my business, they sell, because I know say salon from 10 till Tianga. From after we should take it from 1961, Salon Tianga up to now Salon Tianga, not to strange thing to we. So we salon don't use to salon system. Where's the owner independent we can pull the market to the sell, the place cool and calm. So while else salon and turn up no fish, no place like home. Tell 1-2 pair, and the money I don't put in my pocket. So I appreciate government cannot sit down idle and host for the whole of the day. I can't put in business. I will appreciate what God give me for.
And finally, still on the independence celebration yesterday, Professor Joy Diali, a lecturer at the History Department of Arabic College, has called on Sierra Leoneans to go back to their cultural roots, having that culture is what will identify them as Sierra Leoneans out there. They made this call just after YV's afternoon program this day.
There are a lot of people in this country that are still culturally minded. But the sad thing is that a lot of the younger generation, seem not to know much about their culture. And we may not blame them entirely because we have not, as a people, taken concrete steps to, let them know that culture is part of our existence as a people. It is culture that makes us different from lower animals. And there are no people without a culture. And this, of course, is not to suggest that everything about our culture is good. There are certain aspects, but culture evolves. We can always do it with those aspects of our culture that we think are not very good and promote or uphold those that we think are good. But it is wrong for outsiders to tell us which aspects of our culture are good and which ones are not. They have no business doing that.
That's all we have in our top stories this morning. Back to Yolanka and Elizabeth in our main studios.
Thank you very much, David Remy Wilson, for bringing us some of our top stories in the news. And we're waiting for our alert for the full party. Well, in the show this morning, we shall be discussing the enactment of the Basic and Senior Secondary Education Act 2023 by the Parliament, among other things.
And Health Alert Sierra Leone, in collaboration with the RMNCAH plus NCSO's Youth and Media Coalition members on social accountability and rights-based approach, has held a training for health workers on COVID-19 finances, access to vaccines, and health service delivery in the regions.
Our quote for today says the function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education. And it comes from Martin Luther King Jr., an American Baptist minister and activist. We now get a quick word from our sponsors, Royal Commercial Bank, and we'll be right back.
Every day, world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you. For shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go. Out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some ETSA, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a CEO of a company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
Money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
All town can see inside suits and tie they present na AYV, but we get something cooking and you soon get served.
What you want follow we serve you? A six-pack as we dive or then sexy baby.
Additional I see, well, get ready for the AYV Pool Fiesta. We're going to happen on a Saturday, the 29th of April at the AYV Pool. For small money, 50K for the Monday we're all the way down, and 20 and 50K Patreon. You know what time it is? Yes, sir.
Right, it's gonna be lit.
It's gonna be fun, my nigga.
We are now days away from Sierra Leone's dates with destiny, the June 24th general election. In this defining moment in the history of Sierra Leone, here at AYV, we recognize the mantle thrust upon us to be the voice of the nation fully.
We take our task to ensure fair coverage seriously. We intend to honor our pledge to you, to be your home of all things credible, factual, and all times balanced news. Totally. This is our commitment to you. We have witnessed non-stop hours of groundbreaking broadcast in an effort that saw AYV rolled out 8 studios across Sierra Leone at Star Hill, Aberdeen, Makeni, Kenema, Bow, and London, with almost 3 kilometers of coaxial cable laid connecting 4 ground teams that consume almost 100 liters of coffee from Chef Teina. The most important number is 2. Out of dozens of aspirants, only 2 men have emerged from the conventions in February as flag bearers of the APC and SLPP. Retired Brigadier Julius Madabio and Dr. Samuel Matthew Wilson Camara.
So far, we have witnessed a lot of intrigues. Maybe this is the beginning. Defections and realignments have been plenty. We don't know if there's more to come.
The only thing you can guarantee right now is that your home of credible, factual, and balanced news and analysis, AYV Media Empire, will bring you every twist and turn of this amazing race in full color and in high definition.
We shall have a comprehensive look at the developments around the election as we count down to Sierra Leone's date with destiny.
Women clamored and got a law that provides 30% minimum quota in governance. Will that be achieved this June?
Well, one thing is clear. The nation has begun its conversation that will culminate a date with its destiny on the 24th of June. How much will change by then? And what shifts within the political landscape are we going to see?
Find out more on the nation's biggest and most trusted news source, AYV, on Channel 33, on DSTV Channel 399, on Radio 101.7 FM, on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and of course on TikTok.
Yes, indeed. Only AYV. Because AYV, Naim Salo Sabi.
All right, welcome back. This is Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV TV, and we're live on our Facebook page where you don't forget to send your comments and questions.
Okay, well, in our first segments this morning, Health Alert Sierra Leone, in collaboration with RMNCAH and CSOs, Youth and Media Coalition members, and Social Accountability and Rights-Based Approach, has held a training for health workers on COVID-19 finances, access to vaccine, and health services delivery in the regions. The overall goal of the project is to increase effective financial accountability for COVID-19 and promote equitable access to vaccines in Sierra Leone. Well, this morning to talk on this, we have David Aliyu, who is from Health Alert Sierra Leone. And also we have Abdul Karim Jallo with us in the studio. He is the CEO of Explore Sierra Leone. His organization, Explore Sierra Leone, will be hosting a United at Home Jamboree for Sierra Leoneans at home and the diaspora on Saturday, 29th April. Good morning and welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Good morning. Good morning, ladies.
Let's start with you, Mr. Aliyu, and your issue about health. Tell us a little bit more about your training, because it said that it's something that has to do with COVID.
Yeah.
And for most of us, we think that COVID has ended a while ago.
Exactly.
What's the main aim of your training, and why is it about COVID?
Okay, thank you very much, and good morning to every Sierra Leoneans. Good morning to viewers. The essence of these sessions was to ensure that we keep informing citizens that yes, COVID is still with us, COVID is around us, because from even the WHO and all other players that have been involved in the fight against COVID-19, we have been informed that yes, we have in some countries, COVID has minimized, it has gone low, but COVID is still around us, including even our country, Sierra Leone, and in some of our communities. So as for us as civil society, we believe we have a primary role to play, which is to continue monitoring and informing our compatriots about the status of COVID in this country. So for over the years, we have been engaged, even when COVID was around from 2021, from 2020 March to date, we have been informing, sensitizing, working with partners to ensure that the right message reaches to the citizens and the right message is being grasped. And also, there is this issue of myths and hesitance of the vaccines, right? So this particular project is trying to ensure that how do we take that away from our compatriots? That is the issue of hesitance. Why are Sierra Leoneans not going for the vaccines? Mind you, Sierra Leone has done so much well in terms of the intake of the vaccines. We are among the 4 countries in Africa that has gone above 70%. For instance, if I could remember well, recently Sierra Leone is now above 80% of intake of the vaccines, all the 5 types of vaccines we have in country, right? So for us as civil society, we see it as a progress and as a success for us to continue engaging, even though COVID has subsided in our country, but that doesn't mean COVID is not still in Sierra Leone.
Okay, let me just confirm. Do we still have COVID cases? Are there still quarantine centers for COVID cases?
Okay, that's the essence why we are continuing to engage Sierra Leoneans. Yes, we are not be getting cases as of the last case we got in country is this March that just concluded. We have a 2 confirmed cases, but thank God
those 2 quarantined.
Well, they were self-quarantined and they have gone through treatment and they are now discharged. Yeah, and that case was in Western area urban. But for us not to involve into myth or other issue of creating alarm of people, so we just decided as civil society for all of us to engage Sierra Leoneans that COVID is still around. Let's still keep up our guard as individual and let's keep us adhering to those preventive measures that we are constituted by government and some of the community bylaws. Government has relaxed some of the laws, but that doesn't mean COVID is not around us. And also government has even devolved the organization that was mining COVID in this country. But however, there is an agency, there is a department inside Ministry of Health and Sanitation that is still dealing with COVID. And for all civil society and other donor partners, we are still around continuing our community engagement activities, sensitizing Sierra Leoneans that COVID is around. Let's the best way you can protect yourself is to ensure that you go and take your vaccines.
So with countries, most countries, I don't know, because Sierra Leone for the most part, not recognizing the COVID restrictions. I think we've laid down most of the restrictions that we had because of COVID. And also, for me, personally, I would say this is a surprise, learning that your project is to increase effective financial accountability for COVID-19 and promote equitable access to vaccines in Sierra Leone. Most people don't even think that COVID is still around. And even if it is, we just, whatever symptoms that comes that is COVID related, we see it as normal flu. And now, for the most part, we can take care of ourselves. Most people can't take care of themselves. And they don't even, nobody thinks about COVID right now. One of the things that your trainings should be geared towards something else, other health related issues that are more pressing.
COVID is, mind you, science and those in charge of health issues in the world have told us, all of us, that COVID is going to stay with us, just like how malaria is with us.
So why not have a training on how to combat COVID if there is another eruption of COVID, just as how Ebola just comes once in a while?
And that is the essence why this engagement. And the engagement was in twofold. One, there is social accountability, there is right-based approach. Right-based approach is dealing with how our health workers should ensure that I have a right as a citizen and I have right to my health, and I to take decisions in addressing my health issues, and to also inform my very self and you and also Alliance that yes, the health worker is there to provide health service delivery for us, but you have a responsibility as an individual. And what is that responsibility? To ensure that when you are sick, you go to the health facility. Go and check your health status. Go and ensure that timely you go to the health facilities and engage the health workers to know what is happening around your health. It's a responsibility to an individual. This is a country, we only go to the facilities or to health facilities when we fall sick. But that doesn't mean you should not be going to the health facility. So this project is trying to ensure that educate Sierra Leoneans, continue the information that yes, even though COVID has subsided, but as Sierra Leoneans, let's keep up our guards. Let's be conscious and to engage stakeholders. Stakeholders in the essence, those that have been playing around COVID. For instance, the Ministry of Health and Sanitation, they have units. The health education unit is there. Let them continue the education on COVID-19. Let them continue to engage Sierra Leoneans about the vaccines. The vaccines are free. They are available. How do we continue to engage our citizens to go and voluntarily to the health facilities and take the vaccines? Those vaccines are there. There are myths around those vaccines. There are misconceptions, and those misconceptions are those that will continue to engage Sierra Leoneans that don't get that hesitant. Why are you afraid to go to the facility to take the vaccines? Go to any government health facilities, especially the big hospitals in town. Go there. The vaccines are there. There are various types of vaccines to take. You understand? So when you go for it, it is free. Just go. The most times you spend there is around 5-10 minutes because they have to ask you questions about your health status. And your response to that will determine the types of vaccines that they will give to you.
Okay,
you understand?
So before we come over to Abdul Karim to talk on Explore Salone, now what are the vaccines that are available for COVID-19 in Sierra Leone? What are the vaccines?
They are in country, 5 types of vaccines are available. You have the J&J, Johnson & Johnson, you have the AstraZeneca, you have Pfizer, you have Sinopharm. You understand? They have different types, and the intake is very encouraging. As I earlier stated, Sierra Leone is among the 4 countries that have really complied with the intake of vaccines in Africa, and we are doing very well. As a country, we are above 80%, but at African level, we are among the 4 countries that are really going out for vaccines. And the communities are doing very well. There is always a surge at every end of month. Because of the COVID has gone down, most Sierra Leoneans are not aware of activities ongoing in country about COVID. But there are organizations in this country at district level, at national level, that are continuing the community engagement and sensitization. And we are just one of those. As I earlier mentioned, we are the RMNCAH plus N is a coalition of civil society organizations and media outlets that are involved that are gathered together as a body to ensure that we continue engaging Sierra Leoneans about COVID-19 in country.
Okay, and also you mentioned about the myths and the hesitance
Misconceptions
around the COVID-19 vaccines.
Yeah.
And it's clear to say the vaccines, some of the vaccines have side effects.
Sure.
So how do you come about combating these myths, taking into consideration also the side effects that are there?
And that is the essence of our presence around the health service delivery. Mind you, we are civil society organizations, we are not health workers, but we take the right message to our Sierra Leonean citizens to ensure that, yes, there are some side effects in relation to some of those vaccines. There are some people, when they take AstraZeneca, the complication they get is different from those that take Johnson & Johnson. And mind you, let me just inform you, Johnson & Johnson is just a single dose and is the most utilized vaccines that have got the highest intake of citizens in this country because it is just one dose. Yeah, it goes when you go for it, after asking about your health history, they ask you, you explain what really affects you as an individual. After the explanations, they will ask you what has been your health history. You explain what are the complications you have been encountering. After I do all that explanation, the professional health worker will now determine the type of vaccines they will give to you. You understand? But apart from Johnson & Johnson, all the other vaccines, there are 2 doses. You go for your first dose, after you go to this for the second dose. Then there are boosters also. You understand? But Johnson & Johnson is just 1 dose. After you got your first dose, after 4 months, you go for your booster. But the others, when you got your 2 doses, after 4 months or 6 months, you go for your booster. So those myths and misconceptions in relation to side effects, that is the essence. They ask you your health history. When they ask your health history, you explain. If they give you any of the vaccines, you come home and feel any problem, you have to go back to the health facility and report to them. Then they will know how to address the issue.
Have you taken your booster dose?
Me? Oh, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, now, Abdul
I know
Karim.
that.
Abdul Karim, please give us a background about Explore Sierra Leone.
Okay, hello everyone. Explore Sierra Leone is a traveling company that's been registered in Sierra Leone for almost a decade now. Throughout all this time, we've been traveling around Sierra Leone, Freetown, of course, Sierra Leone, the Peninsulas, and different places to explore Sierra Leone, as the name suggests.
Okay, so what's the main objective?
It's just tourism, to visit places, to find new places in Sierra Leone, and try to explore places and try to bring people to come to Sierra Leone, boost our tourism infrastructure, and you know how tourism works in other countries. So we've been working in partnership with Ministry of Tourism. We've been doing lots of videos and documentaries. We have lots of content online of Sierra Leone. We have lots of pictures of Freetown, different places. You name the tourist sites, I believe you know some of them.
Okay, so how has the interaction been on your social media handles with regards putting Sierra Leone out there?
It's been challenging, but we've been working on it for years now, like I said, but now we're trying to push it so we can do better in terms of tourism, because you know, over the 5 or 6 years now, we've been having like Ebola. After Ebola comes, now we have like the COVID, the gentleman is just saying about. So with that, we're still pushing on the tourism, because tourism is the future of Sierra Leone, I believe so strongly.
Yeah, tourism is the future of Sierra Leone, and for me, I am one person that has always said that Sierra Leoneans, we don't travel, especially within the country. Local tourism, you can debunk that. For me, local tourism here is almost to zero, if I could say that, or let's say it's 2%, something like that. Most people don't travel. So what has Explore Sierra Leone been doing to encourage people, besides posting on social media handles? What have you been doing to encourage more people to focus on local tourism?
Okay, like if you check our social media pages, like we've been visiting places and trying to let people know that these places are beautiful. You can have some activities going on in some of these places. Some of them, to be frank, are a little bit boring when you go there for the first time, because The local Sierra Leonean, to be frank, is just want something really noisy or something like that, want the party, want the hypes and all those things. And some of the tourist destinations, when you go there, if you are not someone who have been traveling internationally, you won't sense really the nature or the natural cause that you will enjoy for going such places. So that's some of the challenges we'll be having. But if you see our tourism in Sierra Leone, the foreigners, international people are exploring our tourist destination more than the locals, 90%.
So I was right to say the local tourism here
Yes, we don't believe in traveling in Sierra Leone, the locals. And if I can tell you, the international people coming to Sierra Leone, the international tourists, they know about Sierra Leone more than us living here. Like example, like let me just close Banana Island. Banana Island, only few Sierra Leoneans have been to Banana Island, and the worst part of it, if you I think there are only like three managements running Banana Island, and they're all like not really 100% Sierra Leoneans, So the Sierra Leoneans locals are not really going into tourism. The locals are not really doing it. It's only the foreigners are pushing it.
So, do you know if there are plans of encouraging Sierra Leoneans into investing in local tourism? And so, sorry, do you know if there are plans of pushing Sierra Leone into investing into local tourism? The last time we had, I think, an owner of a resort, and he was complaining about the economic issues and talking about electricity, talking about issues of getting cash and all that, and people not willing to pay for their services. How would you describe this parts of local tourism, and also what do you think needs to be done in encouraging more people?
In that aspect, what to be done, I think maybe government need to allocate some budget to encourage the local people to boost their economy in the tourism sector, because most of them, they have lots of challenges in electricity factor, and some of these places, if you go there, they're really remote. That's the hard fact. But if you you are touristic minded, trust me, you will enjoy it. But if you're not that kind of person, you find it challenging. Say, hey, I cannot live here. There are mosquitoes, or it's not too safe or whatsoever. And even I remember, we go in some of these places, we taking people there. They were like, the local Sierra Leone, like, we only came here just for this. They don't say it's so interesting, and that's not the case, because some of these places, they are not being updated again. Some of these touristic things are things that sometimes you have to clean them, paint them again, you know what I mean? Refurbish them for them so they can have the might and look. So some of them, they are damaged and all those things. So
before we talk
the history is just, it's too much on that. We don't have that much, to be frank.
All right. So before we talk about your upcoming show, United at Home Jamboree, how can one be part of your excursions or your activities?
Because lately, since last year, I guess, or year before last, after the COVID, lots of people have been going into festivals. You've seen lots of festivals around the city, and festival is a tourism. Yes, it's also a tourism, because in the other festival countries, people travel all around the world to visit the most popular festivals around the world, like Afro Nation, Coachella, or whatsoever you name them. So we're trying to create an opportunity where we can start to encourage people to come from other countries just to visit maybe our festivals. And if they visit our festival, we can create packages where they can have a 1-week tour to visit some other little attractions. So you can have a round trip package. And that's how other touristic countries do their things. You just don't go for one thing. You try to do different style, and we have to introduce our culture. And funnily enough, our culture is really static. It's the same old things we've been doing for the last 20 years. They just play boo-boo dance for you, or we need to be creative more.
Okay, so quickly, before you talk about your event,
You've mentioned some of the challenges with locals not embracing tourism. And firstly, how do you think tourism would actually help or boost the economy in Sierra Leone? And what have you been doing to engage locals, to engage citizens to also know that, yes, tourism can help with the development of Sierra Leone?
On that aspect, you're saying, I don't think maybe the locals can help boost tourism. We have to like get some international people coming in to see
But
a
when you
need.
mentioned also having, because some of these projects
Yeah,
are
they are owned by the local people.
yes, so
some
how,
of them.
yes,
Yeah,
some
but
of
the
them.
majority of them, the ones which are really popular in Sierra Leone, they are not owned by Sierra Leoneans. That's the thing. So it's a funny concept I'm trying to say. I just don't want to say it,
But don't
that's
you think Sierra
harshly.
Leoneans should also contribute to it?
I think they should contribute, but most of them seems they don't seem interested.
So how do
That's the
you,
thing.
how with tourism as your aim or focus, how do you go about encouraging Sierra Leoneans to embrace tourism?
Like I said, the best way of encouraging Sierra Leone to embrace tourism is by, if we have more travelers coming to Sierra Leone, when they come to Sierra Leone, what they come with money. They want to spend money. And what they want to spend money into is tourism, not like the local things that they've been doing in their countries. So that can be a creative opportunity. If we can have more people coming to Sierra Leone as a destination country, it can help boost our tourism economy, because people will know that, hey, people like this, they pay for these things, these art and craft things. So we need to be creating more of them so we can have sales. Where you see the locals, they're creating these things. Now they hardly have sales because the local Sierra Leoneans here don't buy them. You don't buy them. You buy things from overseas. So that's...
Can you prove that?
I'm just saying that for a local Sierra Leonean, I'm just saying for a local Sierra Leonean, I'm not being
So in
particular with
addition
you.
to that, sorry, Elizabeth, in addition to Elizabeth's question, encouraging the locals into tourism. For example, you were talking about some areas that you go to that are not well kept. Have you tried talking to the locals within the area to like upkeep the place, show them what to do? Because for me, I know for once, as you rightly said, there's foreigners that come to the country that appreciate the local things. For example, some don't even mind staying in huts. Some don't even mind sleeping outside or sleeping in tents. So with all these things, going to an area that has potential, do you try to talk to the locals or educating them on how to build their community in order to attract tourists?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But even some of these locals, some of these places, they are not like they are dilapidated. They need some kind of funding and resource to upkeep them. So the locals cannot fund to do like road projects. They cannot fund some of these things to upkeep, and the inflow is very slow for them. So even like you go some of these places, they will bring a local as a tour guide or somebody to show you around, and you have this challenge. You will be like, from over a month now, you are the only guys that came here, and it's not encouraging.
I know, but what I'm trying
That's
to
the
say
thing.
is there are certain things that needs little to no funds. For example, building huts, you have sticks, you have muds, you just need collaboration of community people to come together and fix them and put them together. So has there been any kind of education trying to see how these local people can encourage tourists or make their places touristic sites by using the little to nothing that's within their environment, the things they could find in their environment? As I rightly said, building huts, building fences. You can do
Keeping
that
the
from
places clean.
Exactly, keeping the place clean, sweeping. You can do that from little to nothing. Just need little collaboration from community people.
Yeah, but the hard fact in that you're saying, the locals, they cannot lead on such projects. All the other
It needs
people.
education. So with you with a touristic eye, going into an environment that is very nice and you see opportunities. I just feel it's up to us Sierra Leoneans because we start with ourselves. You're a Sierra Leonean, you have the touristic eye, you've seen this place is a potential touristic destination. I just feel like you need to talk to like the head of the local community, educate them on what to do, try to let them get collaboration within themselves to fix their place. And you could check up on them once in a while and help them to bring more people to their destination.
Yeah, but that's not our role here. Our role is to explore places and find about new places and create more people to come to your place. It's not about teaching people how to manage and run their places. See, that's the hard fact on it.
Okay, so it's a quarter to the hour. We'll take in a quick break and we'll be back, then we'll continue the conversation.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you. For shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice. I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go. Out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some ETSA, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a CEO of a company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Wake Up Sierra Leone here on AYV TV, channel 33. We're also live on a DSTV channel 399. We're live on Facebook, AYV News. And we'll find time to take your comments within the program. Now we're back to our discussion, and quickly let's join Abdul Karim again, who is here to talk on his event, United at Home from Sierra Leone Explore. So tell us a little bit about the event.
You are just busting me out. Anyways, we're just celebrating the 62 independence. So we're still striving and we're still getting there and we're still pushing and this is a private company owned by me and running by my team and crew. And we are self-funded to just push tourism to the next level because we believe in it, you know. So we are not funded by no organization, no fundraising organization. We fund this on ourselves. So it's based on the things we do. We can generate income to reach more places. So like Olenka was saying, going to places to teach people, to try to, you will find it challenging because the thing about that, you can't go meet people at their place and tell them what to do. When you are local, when you're local, they don't take you serious.
No, but
they like take like, hey, this is our place.
You involve them. You tell them like, okay, I come to this place. If you have the touristic eye and you see this is a potential destination, you go to the local head. But this place is a fine place. So if you sweep here, you clean here, you make one small fire, we will bring more people income. And I said earlier that in turn bring more revenue for you because you'll be able to take more people to that place, and in turn gives money to the community. So that's what I was trying to say. So, and you could be checking up on them once in a while. Building Sierra Leone, we start with ourselves. You're a Sierra Leonean, you've seen a beautiful touristic site, then we just talk. It's just an advice, like, okay, if I make this place fine, we can bring more people away who can spend more and get money. Exactly. You collaborate. It doesn't take anything. Just say, man, also for do sweep here, do here, make a dot here, so then that is it. Anyways, let's come back to your show, Jamboree, United at Jamboree. So if I want to attend the show, what should I expect and what are the ticket prices? Who should I expect to meet and how is the payment done?
Is an event which is called United at Home Jamboree. And I don't know if I think you understand exactly what we're talking about. Jamboree. It's just like a other way of saying festival, but yes, but more tighter, more chaotic, more fun type, than just relax. So you'll be expecting lots of amusements that we'll be doing. We'll be doing like fireworks. We'll be doing smoke parades. We'll be doing red carpet interviews. We'll be doing 360 photo booths. So we'll be doing lots of activities to get people warmed up to the event. But the main activity of the event is like the DJs. We have the hottest DJs actually in Sierra Leone presently. In our list, we have 12 DJs that will be playing one night. So
just one night, yeah. And this is a one-day event.
Yeah, just a one-day event.
And you have 12 DJs.
Yes.
Okay. What are your plans really for that?
Is it going to be a contest or
no? It's
all
not
12
a
of them
contest.
will be playing?
All of them will be playing.
Okay.
Oh my God.
All of them will be playing, and they will be playing by hour in routine, and that's how festivals have been done.
Okay.
You don't have like one DJ to play all night. You'll get exhausted. The best the DJ can give you is 1 hour of his best. You cannot push him over 1 hour. He will just be trying. Okay. That's why most times you see some of those DJs are sitting down when they play, which is not a professional way of being a DJ. So that's why the event starts 4 p.m. Local time, and it goes to 4 a.m. in the morning. So during that time, each hour is on DJ set to play. So we'll be drawing a timetable for all the DJs that will be playing from tomorrow 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. one DJ, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. one day, so on. So we'll get to it.
Okay. So besides the dancing, what else should we expect at your Jamboree?
Okay, you're gonna expect we're gonna use a brand new PA system, which will be very competitive to the other PA systems we have in Sierra Leone.
Okay.
And nobody have never used it before, so we'll be unleashing it for the first time today, and most likely we'll be testing it today for tomorrow.
Okay.
So the PA system gonna come with lights, gonna come with screens and everything so far that the competitors offer. So we are excited to introduce that to the DJs.
Okay, so on the flyer, I see you have different packages.
Yes, we have different packages. We have a regular, actually, which is 150 leons, and the gold package, which is 300 leons.
Okay.
Then we have VIP packages, but for now, the VIP packages are all sold out. So we're just we're just doing the local packages for now. And the local packages, they might be closed by tomorrow, I guess, because we're doing an online payment system.
So tickets are not sold at the gate?
Tickets, yes, they are not sold at the gate, but
it might change your mind.
No, it depends. We'll have the numbers because our ticketing system is online. You buy tickets.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so we have an app where you can buy tickets through AfriMoney. Then you get your tickets electronically to your phone.
And this will be happening at Decode Beachfront?
Yes, Decode Beachfront.
Okay, well, continue to stay with us, Abdul Karim. So let's come to you again, Mr. Aliyu, and your training for COVID-19. So who are the people that will be part of this training?
The training has been conducted already.
Oh, so who were
this was just an update. The day before yesterday, we gave to our CSO colleagues and media members that are part of the coalitions. But we have conducted the training sometimes in March, early March. These are a series of activities that we have undertaken in the quarter. Yeah, we went and every 3 months we update our partners and colleagues and media about COVID. Activities of COVID and activities that we have carried out within that 3-month period. So the day before yesterday was an update activity that we undertook to ensure that Sierra Leoneans are informed, citizens are informed, the media is informed, and
who
other
were part of the training?
So there was the part of the training at regional level, at district level. We go to the regional and district headquarters towns like Kenema, Makini, Bo, Potloko, West. For Freetown, we did it at Western Rural, at Watalodia. We conducted the session. These are we identify key stakeholders that we are involved in the fight against COVID. This is a social accountability activity to come and explain to us what were their roles and responsibility during the height of the COVID crisis. So they were able to come explain to us what they did. For instance, the local councils, what were their role? They provided funds. They were part of providing some funds to train community volunteers. They also provided materials at community level. We engaged the DHMT. What role do they play? All of them explain their role. The key among that, what we want to really capture is how do we as Reunions should now decide to ensure that we participate in the protection of our health and our communities. For instance, the local councils, the DHMT, do they have a standby resources in terms of crisis, in terms of breakout of any crisis? This is the mindset we want to sell out to Sierra.
How often do you have these trainings?
Every quarter we ensure that we engage citizens.
And you've been holding them since?
No, well, this project started earlier this year.
You just started
we just started it.
And you'll be doing it next quarter?
Yes, because this project, the lifespan of the project is 1 year, 6 months.
Sorry, Elizabeth. So during your last training, you said this training, one of the main reasons for the training is
the essence of the training is to keep Sierra informed and to ensure that for us to know what role did they play, and also in relation to accountability in terms of processes and involvement, and also the availability of the vaccines on ground, and how secured are those vaccines, and how do they frequent, what has been the uptake of the vaccines in the community. So, and the other part of the training is a right-based approach. In terms of health service delivery, what is the role of the health worker? We targeted the in-charges in the peripheral health units, because in health service delivery, you have cadres of health facilities. You have the maternal child health post, you have the peripheral health unit, and you have the CHC and the CHP. You have the community health post, which is at semi-chiefdom level, and you have the community health center, which is at chiefdom level. Then you have the district hospital. So we invite one in charges at every location. So we invited 20 in charges in the district to come and inform them about what is their role they are supposed to play in terms of crisis, in terms of health service delivery. Because as an individual, I should take decisions in my health service delivery. I have a responsibility as a citizen to be always, government have a responsibility. When we talk about right-based approach is, what are their role of the specific stakeholder? For instance, for government, what is the role of government in providing my health, in ensuring that my health is protected? That is, government should ensure that there is health facility, there are drugs, there are equipment, there are staffs. These are the issues we want to inform Sierra and citizens about. So we train the health workers to know that, yes, with this right-based approach, citizens will have, one, confidence in the service provider. Two, they will also believe that if I go to this health facility, the service I think they should provide for me, they have the capacity to provide that service. So with this information all gathered and they are in the presence, you give them this information. The service providers also bring in the information. I think it's the right step to ensure that Sierra Leoneans know about what is happening around their health service delivery.
Right. So as we round up, because time is not in our favor, what would be your advice to Sierra Leoneans out there? Now that most people have forgotten about COVID and you're bringing it up, what would be your, and you're actively dealing with COVID issues, what would be your advice to Sierra Leoneans out there?
My advice is, COVID is around us. Let's still continue to keep our guards and let's go for our vaccines. The vaccines are available at all government hospitals. It is free. Just go there, talk about your health history. You will not take even up to 10 minutes. The only delay there will be for you to explain your health status. As you explain your health status, that will inform the service provider to decide the type of vaccines they will give to you. For me, I was not, at the time I took my first dose, Johnson & Johnson was not available. So I took Sinopharm. For 2, I have taken my 2 doses and have taken my booster.
Okay.
Perfect. And that is why you don't see me walking around with masks or whatever. But that doesn't mean I should not protect myself. I always have my sanitizer. I always have my face mask.
All right.
Okay.
Elizabeth.
So before we round up this segment, it's 9 o'clock here in our studios, and let's take a summary of the news summary.
But in our top stories this morning, Sierra Leone commemorates the 62 independence anniversary Yesterday, the government hosted an interfaith Thanksgiving service presided by President Julius Maada Bio at State House. President Bio laid the foundation for the preachers with scripture reading from the New Testament Bible in the book of Philippians, chapter 4.
Your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right. Think about things that are pure and lovely and admirable. About that are excellent and worthy of praise. Keep putting on to practice all you learn from me and heard from me and saw me doing. And the God of peace will be with you.
All right, that was President Julius Maada Bio speaking there. Another story, some residents within Freetown observed the independence celebration yesterday. These residents say they are happy with the peaceful atmosphere, adding that it should be used as a moment of reflection.
To like for go beach or any kind occasion, I can just do the celebration with the color. Then not like now when my sister they go to school. And for that wear the color no more for me mama. For sure say I get.
According to my observation, I observe Salone, saying that the country, easy. But to the wish and pray, say, let God make the country easy for we. At least me with long life, everybody, everything stable, everything normal. So me, as for me, I don't say anything, but for me, I don't enjoy me independent.
So now I come and pull my business, and they sell, because I know say Salone from 10 to Tianga. From after we should take it from 1961, Salone Tianga up to now Salone Tianga, not a strange thing to we. So we Salone don't use to Salone system. Where see the owner independent, you can pull the market to the sell, the place cool and calm. So while else Salone and turn up office, no place like home. Tell 1 2 pair, and the money I don't put in my pocket. So I appreciate government cannot see the idle and host for the whole of the day. I can't put in business. I will appreciate what God give me for.
And finally, still on the independence celebration yesterday, Professor Joy Diali, a lecturer at the History Department of Arabic College, has called on Sierra Leoneans to go back to their cultural roots. Having that culture is what will identify them as Sierra Leoneans out there. They made this call just after AYV's afternoon program this day.
There are a lot of people in this country that are still culturally minded. But the sad thing is that a lot of the younger generation, seem not to know much about their culture. And we may not blame them entirely because we have not, as a people, taken concrete steps to, let them know that culture is part of our existence as a people. It is culture that makes us different from lower animals. And there are no people without a culture. And this, of course, is not to suggest that everything about our culture is good. There are certain aspects, but culture evolves. We can always do away with those aspects of our culture that we think are not very good and promote or uphold those that we think are good. But it is wrong for outsiders to tell us which aspects of our culture are good and which ones are not. They have no business doing that.
That's all we have in our top stories this morning. Back to Yolanka and Elizabeth in our main studios.
Okay, thank you, David Remibus. And now, as we wrap up this segment, Abdul Karim, please tell us how one would actually get these tickets.
You can get the tickets. You can go to our website, www.exploresierraleone.sl. Yeah, that's one way. You can get the tickets. Then you can get the tickets online at www.exploresierraleone.sl, or you can get the tickets at Willie Restaurant at number 7 Rodin Street if you're not the kind tech-savvy person. But we advise people to buy tickets online, which is easy. Our online payments platform is the first to be used in Sierra Leone, and we implemented it, and it's working seamlessly and worked perfectly. So you get an electronic ticket straight away in your phone. So when you come to the venue that day, we just scan your phone with your QR code, then you go in, voila, easily.
Okay.
And this ticketing system is a ticketing system we're trying to push to the other people doing events again, creating opportunities for them, because everybody using cashless and ticketless system all around the world now. So we're using it first in Sierra Leone. We're using the first PA system in Sierra Leone, and we're putting together all the top DJs in Sierra Leone under one stage to give you 1 hour of their best performance. So I think you will expect greatness.
Okay.
And as I said, all the VIP tables are already sold out on this.
Yeah, so tomorrow, 29th April at 4 p.m.
Starts at 4 p.m.
Starts at 4 p.m.
Exactly
till
at
4
4
a.m. the
p.m.
next day.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so now in a minute, just tell people or viewers who would want to attend your United at Home Jamboree tomorrow. What are the expectations in a minute?
You're gonna expect fun, you're gonna expect greatness, and at the same time, we will be celebrating our independence tomorrow. Our 62 independence. So we're doing ours because, you know, Thursday was our independence and Friday is a working day. So that's why we decided to leave it for Saturday, which
So
Sunday
you have
is
time
very
to rest
free,
the next
and
day.
Monday again is holiday. So you can go, you really Jamboree hall that you can. So, you know, you won't get tired to be on work on Tuesday anymore.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the program, Mr. Aliyu and Mr. Jallo. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure having you both with us on set this morning.
All right, thank you.
The program you're watching is Wake Up Salone and Africa Young Voices Television. Let's go for a short break, and when we'll come back, we'll have a final segment and we'll have more discussions.
Every day, the world wakes up to you. Millions of people are getting ready for you for shopping, travel expenses, utility bills, trade, and commerce. If we all have wishes, then what is your financial transaction wish?
I'd like to have a choice.
I'd like convenience.
I'd like to pay for goods and services on the go.
I'd like to pay utility bills on the go. Out of credit and data, buy some mobile top-up, still on my phone. Oops, light out. I'll buy some ETSA, still on my phone.
I'd like to make payment from my account to another account through my mobile phone.
As a CEO of a company, I would like my staff to receive their salaries through bulk e-payment without the risk of transporting cash.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo does it all.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo. Think of it as
Money when you're close to home and when you're away from home for unexpected expenses, and money for those times when cash fails.
If you can dream it, you can become it. If you can imagine it, you can achieve it.
Rokel Commercial Bank Simcopo is all you need.
AYV International, a truly global media outlet. Our media platforms can be found across the world, including Africa, America, Asia, Europe, Caribbean, the Pacific, and more. Our media services include broadcasting, media production of documentaries, movies, and a wide range of audiovisual services, advertising and public relations, sporting and events coverage, photography, and a reliable media equipment rental unit, as well as media training. Contact us at our International AYV Media Centre, 18 Soho Square, London, United Kingdom, W1D 3QH. Telephone us on 074 967 456 33. Or you can send us an email to ayv.international@ayvnews.com or ayv.international@gmail.com. You can also find us on our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
Welcome back. It's Wake Up Salone in Africa Young Voices Television. We're broadcasting live from our studios here in Tower Hill, and also on a radio and television channels and also a DSTV channel 399. And this is our final segment this morning.
And in our final segment, a few days ago, before the dissolution of Parliament, members of Parliament have enacted the Basic and Senior Secondary Education Act 2023, which seeks to repeal some parts of the Education Act of 2004 and to address the educational system. Refusing to send a child to school is now punishable by law, and corporal punishment has been banned.
So to discuss this morning, we have Augustine Bami Anthony, Communication Specialist at the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, and Alfonso Mali, who's the Chairman, Civil Rights Coalition. Good morning, gentlemen, and welcome to the show. I'd like to start off with you, Bami, as we talk about the repeal of the Education Act 2023. Now, tell us why the repeal?
Thank you very much. I am happy to be here to share the good news to viewers, millions of viewers out there, about the progressive bill that is tabled in the House of Parliament before the judicial decision, as they rightly put it. But I want to really put it in a context where the listeners will be able, or viewers will be able to understand where we're coming from and where we're going to.
Yeah.
The progressive bill, as my colleague used to call it, Alfonso Mali, is a dream come true for a young man who in 2016 shared his vision to an aspirant of the SLPP for flag bearership, of how he wanted to fight against injustice and inequality in the educational landscape of his country, of how he wanted to use data and technology to transform education in Sierra Leone. Dr. David Moninasenge shared his vision with the flag bearer aspirant then, Brigadier retired Julius Madabio, that he wanted to match the educational system of Sierra Leone to the contemporary global world. But how could he when he wasn't a Minister of Education? So in 2018, that aspirant of flag bearership became President of the Republic of Sierra Leone. In 2019, Dr. David Moninasenge, as in the Bible of Joseph, the story of Joseph, was remembered and was made a minister, was appointed a Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. PAM, the dream of transforming education, came alive. But two things, among very many other things, became a challenge. One, that his predecessors had all been older people who have been in education for a very long time. Giving him a young man, especially with dreadlocks, was not easily accepted in society. But more so, the laws of the land. There was an act called the 2004 Education Act that had a lot of incompatibilities with its new reforms of having pregnant girls to school, for example, having parent learners attend school, expunging corporal punishments from school, and a lot of things. So he decided to have his team at the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education that was headed by the Professor Emeritus Yatakanu, the Chief Education Officer of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, to have an overhaul or to review the 2004 Education Act. And that took a while. As we speak, it was tabled at the House of Parliament, and it's now on the table of the President for his accent for it to become law. The young man that dreamt in 2016 is now a reality of Sierra Leone. But what is the importance of this bill? As it is progressive, we'll be seeing where pregnant girls are now legally allowed to go to school. We'll be now seeing where parent learners are legally allowed to go to school. We'll now have where you will not just construct schools as you want, but you go through the guidelines of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. We will now have a situation where our kids, the pupils in school, will now be given or allocated national identification numbers by NCRA and a special set of number from the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education to track their academic success. We will now have a situation where we will have an alternative means of assessing our kids of transitioning from primary school into the junior secondary school besides the NPSC. A lot of things have now come into this new bid that will soon become a law. But most importantly, in Section 99, has given the rights, the largesse to the Minister of Basic and Senior Secondary Education to now develop regulations that he deems expedient or necessary to the progress of education in Sierra Leone. So this bid is a progressive one. We want to thank the framers, especially Professor Emeritus Yeto Kanu, the Chief Education Officer, for using her ideas. She has been in education for the rest of her years, and she has been able to revive higher education, to restore the educational health of Sierra Leone by leading a campaign of reviewing the entire basic and senior secondary education curriculum in Sierra Leone. We are making headway in Sierra Leone, and the transformation is now under the leadership of Dr. David Monin-Asenge. Thank you.
Okay, so with this new act, which is the progressive bill like you've mentioned, can you take us through what are some of the repeals it has done to the Education Act 2004?
Yeah, I think I have to do some legalese here. We all understand when a minister is given an opportunity by the parents' bill to enact, to develop regulations, policies, as we call. We all know how the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education, over the period of 5 years, have developed a lot of policies. The radical inclusion policy, the school catchment area policy, the integrated early childhood policy, the school feeding policy, a lot of policies. But generally speaking in law, acts are by far superior to policies. And the minister has a mandate. He should not go beyond the mandate as per the Parents' Bill, the Parents' Act. So the 2004 Act had incompatibilities with the ideals of Dr. Senge. So if he had pushed beyond the bill, the Act of 2004, would have attracted some amount of judicial review, which will have been looking into the procedures of his mandate. So he decided to go through the processes. And that's one important thing, that he followed the laws of the land. But the most important one that we also need to understand as citizens is because somebody who is really not technically inclined, who is not educationally inclined, having professional education in the field of education, as you speak, he is technically oriented person, was given the opportunity. That is a new thing to Sierra Leone, where Bami Anthony will be speaking something of which that is not his field, but people believes in his vision, people believes in his ideas, and take him from nowhere and place him in charge of that entity, and he delivers. That is a milestone to Sierra Leone. That is a hope to the young people, to we the young people of Sierra Leone, that you really are not going to be the kind of professor in education before you are appointed a Minister of Education. Dr. Senge has laid the roadmap, and that is which we are going to follow. And this bill is going to be progressive.
Also, with this new act, we've seen provisions in it that have to do with not sending your child to school being punishable by law, the ban placed on corporal punishment. How important is this?
Yeah, so these are the incompatibilities of our culture, and not just even culture, but even our morals of the country. There is a saying in the Bible, "Don't spare the rod and spoil the child." That's what people popularize. But in contemporary learning environment, we really have not seen the necessity to have corporal punishment in force if you want your kids to learn. We believe that kids should learn in the safe environment, a friendly environment, an environment of tranquility, an environment of activities, and not an environment of punishment, an environment of hitting the child, an environment of making the child feel degraded. No. So as a ministry, we have developed through also the leadership of Professor Yeto Kanu, an alternative corporal punishment measures. And we are waiting for the act to be passed, to the bill to be passed into an act, after the president will have sent his signature to it. Then we will now roll out a national campaign around the alternative disciplinary measures in schools, rather than having the cane as the major instrument of compliant obedience.
Okay. Last week or earlier this week, I'm in my son's school group, and a lot of people are complaining about this bill. No corporal punishment, and allowing girls that are pregnant to be in school with girls that are not. And also this other one that you're calling it parents parent learners. Please, who are the parent learners before I continue?
You know, if you have, I know you have been following the activities of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education. You also learned that over the period of 5 years, we've been able to return hundreds of pupils back to school who were pregnant in the process of learning and had to go 1 or 2 years off the school activities. And we are reintegrated into the normal or the formal school setting. These are the parent learners.
Okay, so
that will bring along.
All right. Parents learners in school, that is nothing new. That was the norm. You're pregnant, you leave school, have your child, then you can return back to school. That has been the norm for years. Now you're asking girls that are pregnant to stay in school in the same class with children that are not pregnant. What message do you think that will pass on to the other kids in the class? For me personally, I think if you are pregnant, you're no longer a child. Being in class with children, what message is the government trying to pass on to the kids in the class? And I believe school is an environment where kids are there to learn and try to grow with the absence of their parents. Children spend most of their time in school.
Yeah,
what message is the government trying to pass on to these kids?
I hear you. I hear you. The government is sending two major messages. One is sending a message of equality to access to education, to stay in school and to complete school.
Okay.
And also sending a message of justice and fairness. That's irrespective of your status socially, irrespective of your economic or physical looks. You are given the equal opportunity in the classroom as any other child.
Okay.
And that makes it progressive.
All right. So let's go to the point where we say kids are kids. A lot of things they do not understand. They rely on adults, and kids generally copy from adults. You're talking about the area of equality. Pregnant women are not disabled people. These are normal adults going about their normal business. Don't you think that having a pregnant woman in class automatically encourages that child to be, maybe where word is a bit too extreme, to do things that are not right for a child to do, knowing that even if I do that, I can still continue school. I can still come back to school, not thinking about the other repercussions. And these are the things that most parents are angry about. That's why I ask, what message is the government trying to send to these kids?
Okay.
It's not about being disabled. These kids, it's not about being accepted. These women in class with these kids are not disabled.
Okay.
And kids learn from adults.
I can sense the passion and from you. And that is also the view of a lot of other people outside.
I am a parent.
And so I understand. But I want to first, before I ask a question on this, allay the fears of the general public, that Sierra Leone is not the only country that is implementing this policy. It is happening in developed countries, in African countries, just by our sides here. But that is just one.
We do not share the same cultures.
Let's look into this. Let's look into this. We were talking about culture now. Consider over the period of 5 years now, over 20,000 girls who were pregnant were able to progress through education and now are in universities. Imagine these girls as the band was before 2019 against them. We are really discriminated against to stay out of school. What do you think will have brought the social problems, depending on people.
You go back to school.
Going to, promoting prostitution, poverty rates going up in the country. You look at that. You are not liberating people because you are holding on the culture of the country. Yes, we agree, as Professor Joedi Ali rightly said before I came in, that we need to honor our culture. We need to follow our culture. But our culture is not to discriminate against girls, human beings like us, who are pregnant in the process of learning from attaining education. That is not a culture. That is a belief, that is a myth, that is incorrect. Because we are looking at how we contribute into making every Sierra Leonean a meaningful Sierra Leonean by way of developing the human capacity.
If I should come in, kids getting pregnant is nothing new. Parents, learners, as you call them, they're nothing new in school. And now in this generation, people go back to school, even at a very old age. You see them going back to school. Kids getting pregnant, they should not be pregnant. That is them doing what they're not supposed to do.
Which I know.
Exactly. Why would other children get to, or in fact, let's not say children, we're talking about the parents now. Why do other parents have to go through the stress of training their child or having their kids in class with adults? Because when these kids see adults with them in class, the stress comes back to the parents, who have to be extra careful with their child so that they will not go wayward. These kids will be copying from the adults. Kids are kids. They look up to adults to learn. And now you're introducing adults into the classroom. And the kids are there watching and copying.
Except you want to change the definition of who a child is as per national definition. We know 18 and below is a child, right? So if you are pregnant at 15, you're still a child.
The child is
pregnant, so we understand. I want us to have it that way.
Be at home.
We really are not encouraging our kids to go indulge themselves into sexual activities that will land them pregnant. That's not what we're saying. The focus of the ministry in this direction is to ensure that everybody is given the equal opportunity, irrespective of their physical looks, to be able to access, to stay in school, and to complete education.
Natural physical looks.
So when you have this bigger vision, you will be able to absorb all these small things that people will imagine how you cope with pregnant girls in school. These are things that you will manage because you have a bigger goal. The goal is to ensure that every girl, let me give you a statistics quickly before I conclude on this. Before 2018 in Sierra Leone, only 84,000 girls reached SS3 in the entire country. Well, a lot of things you could say, one of which is the ban against pregnant girls in school. But as I speak now, we have over 206,000 girls in SS3 as I speak. Look how progressive that is. So imagine how many hundreds of thousands have added to the number that was there because a band discriminated against our own very Sierra Leoneans because they are pregnant. that punishment for me is not compatible to the very act that was committed because he's pregnant.
All right, so let's move over to you, Alfonso Manley. What's your own take on the new bill and also part of the act that were repealed?
Yes, thank you very much. First of all, I don't want to be discussing the 2023 Basic Education Bill. On that note, let me speedily call on His Excellency to sign this progressive bill in education. Because I've read other laws in education from other African countries. I can clearly state to you we have one of the most progressive bill that will soon become an act to actually ensure we restructure the education system so it's become all-inclusive. So in tandem with the education sector plan that says we want to transform learning, right? And the education sector plan we started implementing 2022, it will span to 2026. So it's one of the most progressive law. Reason being, if you look at part 1, preliminary the interpretation, you have several definitions. You have now clearly states what private school is, clearly states what corporal punishment is, who is the DD, several definitions. So you understand the education sector. The 2004 Education Act, if you look at section 14 of the 2004 Education Act, because we've repealed all what entails the basic education from that act, but it's still in place because we have the higher and technical ministry. But when you look at the ESP, it's one sector. But in terms of education service delivery, effectiveness and efficiency, we have 2 ministries to actually ensure we transform learning. Now, if you look at this act critically, that section 14 gives the minister power to do whatever he likes in the education sector, but not with this new one, the 2023, wherein you look at section 3, actually reduces the power of the minister in the face of the minister, Dr. Moina Senge, because we always believe we must allow people to perform their function they must perform in order for education to transform. Now, if you look at the office of the CEO, specific functions, look at the office of the deputy CEO, specific function. So that's how progressive this act is. If you go to part 6, it tells you about education governance. One of the issues we have in the implementation of free quality education, where we talked of the function of the Board of Governors. If you look at the 2004 Education Act, it tells you that the Board of Governors in section 32.5 manages the school. Not in the case for this 2023 act, bill. I don't want to say bill. This is why I'm speedily calling on the president to sign this, because it's a progressive law. We want to take it to the people. We want to discuss this kind of law. This will move education forward. Clearly states what the SMC in school is, what they should be doing. The limitation is clearly states signatories of bank accounts to schools. It's a problem. It's clearly stated that one. It's also stated in section 68, decentralization. The role of the local council in handling basic education, I mean from preschool to JSS, that basic education. So it's a progressive laws that tells you your functions, what you do and what you should not do. Our own fear is the implementation of these laws. But in terms of what is in this bill, to continue to transform education the positive way, I think it's have all what it takes. That's why entirely when I was here, I was mad at the ministry to say enough consultation, we are not done. But the minister did send the soft copy to me. We made our input as Civil Rights Coalition. I want to commend the minister because when I sat on the panel for the very first education week that we celebrated in 2020, one of my first pleas to His Excellency was to review or to overhaul the 2004 Education Act. And a lot of ministers refused that one because of section 14 of the 2004 Education Act. But having Dr. Moina Senge, who is a young man, as Bami said, say, I will let go of these powers. I don't interested. My interest is to ensure we have a progressive law that will transform education. And let me just narrow into this issue of pregnant girls and parent learners. I want to add my voice to that. We had a ban on pregnant girls that they should not attend school. an NGO, an institution, took the government of Sierra Leone to court, the ECOWAS court, where the ban was overturned to say no, pregnant girls and parent learners must be allowed to go to school. It is their right to have education. And if you look at the 4 guiding principles of education, the first one is universal access. Whether you're deaf, whether you're a kid with special need of all type, visually impaired, physically challenged, irrespective of your status, you should be given the opportunity to learn. And that includes those girls, unfortunately, who become pregnant. In most cases, it's not their fault. Parents do not perform their responsibility. In those days, we used to say in loco parentis. The teacher takes the place of the parents. It's no longer applicable when you have 2 shifts in schools. No longer contact hour with your teachers. Parents are so busy now after schools. You have to go to work, you have to feed, a lot of activities. So again, in some cases, I'm not saying all cases, it's not the fault of that innocent child who may have gotten pregnant. That should not spoil that child's education. You don't know the future of that child. You don't want to destroy the future of that child. So that was a ban overturned. And having a progressive system, what we should be discussing now, how can we aid those children who unfortunately are pregnant in schools so they have the kind of learning we expect from them, those kind of health support, those kind of support we give them in school, the guidance counseling department. How do we ensure we talk to others that we are not promoting girls to go get pregnant and come learn? We actually telling you to abstain. But unfortunately, if that's the case, it should not stop you from learning. Since we want to transform education. If you go to the education sector plan, you look at the 9 key objectives to transform education. One of them, it will tell you, in order for us to ensure, we implement this education sector plan is to recruit, retrain excellent educators. And when you say excellent educators, including those who will conscientize our pupils what to do and what not to do. But if you're unfortunate, you got pregnant, you continue to learn. That's why it's no longer the case when you say Sierra Leone, it's not that country and they cut food. But when you say Sierra Leone, they will say it's the country that is transforming learning, the country that have a policy for radical inclusion to ensure if you are from poor families, far remote area, special need, parent learners, or pregnant girls, you should go to school and learn and acquire knowledge. So when it comes to transforming Sierra Leone, you become part of those who will transform Sierra Leone. So I think it's no harm having pregnant girls go to school, but how we manage the situation so you don't copy, others don't copy from that. That's your fear. And I also share that fear with you. So this is why we have the guidance and counseling.
The fear of other people. So there are others who say it is okay for pregnant girls to go to school, but they should be allowed at certain level in school, especially in secondary school. For example, if you're in senior school and you get pregnant, you will be allowed in school. But if you are in junior school and you get pregnant, you should stay home.
So that's discrimination.
That's
so this is what we talk of inclusive. You see, this is why I blame the Ministry of Education.
So let
me just say this. You are saying this because this ministry is not doing enough outreach to kind of provide public education so you understand the system. You should not be saying this because they're doing enough public education. For instance, you spoke of corporal punishment. It's been a long time that the CEO have developed friendly punishment, alternative to cop, is still in a table, they get a dust. Then they take out to the public. We've reviewed the curriculum. That department has been dead for over 30 years. Throughout the system, we now have new curriculum, new syllabus. It ain't a cupboard. The teacher code of conduct, where they tell parents, when teacher do you picking wrong, the roadway for take for report without the school not go harm you picking. If they get that dust at the cupboard, they don't popularize what they do. So when you sit here, you say we have catchment where they say, no, Alfonso, the propaganda for the ministry. They put our civil society in a difficult situation because whatever they do, that the international community and they sell and so, and not the locals.
You mentioned about consulting civil society or other groups. And now you say you have been consulted with...
No, they send a soft copy for my inputs.
Okay.
That's different from consultation.
Okay, so you were not consulted at all.
Listen, the point I raised, we are not part of the consultation.
Okay.
They did consultation. If you have a group like Education for All Coalition again saying they are not part, it's a concern. Okay. So what the minister did cleverly was to send the soft copy to us as civil rights person. We did justice to it. But that's not my point. I would have loved to consult others so they give input to this one. And that's the point.
Now, with this new act, there are some of the provisions in it has to do with, in the case of epidemics or pandemics, where you would have mass vaccination of pupils and other preventive measures. You also have where a learning environment should be conducive. There's also the NEEN provision for students, as Bami mentioned. And so many other provisions in reforming the education sector. Now, do you think the ministry will be able to implement all these?
Thank you very much. So this is why if you look again, the very act, adjust the tail end, you see partnership and collaboration.
Thank you.
Partnership, section 97. How do you partner with others? And if you look at the education sector plan, part of this 9 objective is also effective coordination and partnership. For instance, you have the Free Education Secretariat, FEPS, which is doing so well in complementing the work the BSSC does, because it's a multi-donor trust fund. If you look at this 22% of the recurrent budget being allocated to education, little or nothing is spent on capital expenditure. Little or nothing is spent for running the administration of the ministry itself, administrative costs, which includes electricity, water, paper, things to enable Bami to do his job well. Finance is not supporting the ministry in that direction. So if you look at this 22%, you look again to justify what I'm saying, the education sector analysis made mention of it. A lot of this is going to teachers' salaries, lecturers' salaries. Little or nothing is spent on capital expenditure. So this is why we need greater partnership. So if you look at FEPS, the building classroom, if you look at the EU project just completed, they've constructed over 200 classrooms. FEPS is now constructing over 500 classrooms, boarding homes. They've just supplied assistive devices, uniform, shoes to special needs schools. You don't know all of this because they don't popularize. So it's like I'm doing propaganda, but these have happened in the sector. So why you need greater partnership? If you look at this early childhood center, like Orange, they constructed the one in Moyamba, in Cambia, Pujaun, Mercury, the one in Moyamba, Potloko. A lot of private individuals, they are helping in this. So this is called partnership, because we realize governments cannot do everything in the education sector. This is why I need partnership. But again, in order to avoid duplication, you must direct them that in helping the ministry, you must have cognizance of the education sector plan. How far are we? What are the gaps? We started it 2022. This is 2023. Where do we need help? For instance, people construct schools without even ready school approval documents. I don't know if you have seen or read that document because you have interest in education. So that document should be made public. The public should understand that when I want to build a school, these are the criteria, these are the conditions. I must take into consideration kids with special needs, because this bill provides for that, both public and private schools. We now have a progressive education government system by this bill, only for having help to implement. For instance, when it comes to those mission schools, those government-assisted schools, before now, based on understanding, because it was not in the 2004 Education Act, the minister will nominate 4 members of the proprietors and his team, 4 members, of which you will name one of them to become the board, the chairman of the board. In this new progressive bill, what we are saying, you will nominate 4, but among those 4, the minister will have to nominate somebody who becomes the chairman. So you will not hold government to ransom, as we have recently in the case of Vine Memorial, in the case of Freetown Secondary School for Girls. This bill clearly states we recognize only one governing structure, either board, CMC, or the SMC. Unlike FSSG, where they will tell you they have board of trustee. They find a non-side on the law. But you get board of governor, board of trustee. What's the role of the board of trustee? It's not correct. You have Vine Memorial that they want to sell half of the school to construct mall. I'm a member of that school board. We stood our grounds to say no. The minister have to replace the board chairman, but it was part of the proprietors team. So that's why Parliament is saying they will just nominate for a new, as a minister, will nominate the chairman. And this new Progressive Act is now saying the quorum, when you form quorum, that decision become bindings of the board. The CEO representation must be in that meeting. So whatever decision you take, it becomes binding. So if you converge as a board, you take decision without the CEO representation. These are all the lacuna in the 2004 education that I call this progressive. So I speedily call on President Bio, who is the head of foundational learning. And me sitting here, I'm a member of the technical working group for early childhood education in the Ministry of Basic Education. We have made so much progress to the point that government is now saying, this is where section 22 captures it, compulsory education. Early childhood, 3 years. But the 5th year, the final year, we expecting to be around age 5. Governments will pay free for you. So those 2 years will be our advocacy to say, look, UNICEF, if you are supporting, Ola Olunkoya, if you want to support, look for those kids in community that you can pay school for, early childhood, preschool, 1st year and 2nd year, because that will not be paid for by the government, but the 3rd year is free. It will be paid for by the government. So instead of you, they come out and make an account book, you say they can't get school, they don't use, look for them picking a cup. That will be our advocacy. Instead of you making intervention that are irrelevant in the education system, so your intervention now should be so them picking their way all from 3 year, 4 year, I they ensure so they pay for them, 2 year preschool, and the 3rd year government will pay. So we must understand clearly what is in this bill.
Now, Bami, he's just mentioned compulsory education, refusing to send your child to school with the new act would be punishable by law. I don't know if you know the statistics of children in Sierra Leone, and how will that be achieved? Do we have enough schools who would actually take children in?
Thank you. You rightly put it that a good number of kids are out of school, as you just mentioned. So the very reason it underscores the importance of this very bill that will be soon turned into act. If it's now a law that any kid that is not going to school, the parent or guardian will be charged to pay at least 10 million, I see 10,000 in the current New Leon, 10,000, or go to jail, or both in situations as may require. Then it has now become a law. It has gotten the force of law. What we're saying, we are making education compulsory. There is no way you could say education is compulsory if you really do not have the force of law. That is in one aspect. The second aspect is you're talking of how do we accommodate them. The first pillar of the free quality school education program is access. It is the responsibility of the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education to ensure that all our kids in government and government-assisted schools access education, are able to stay in school. The very reason that between 2018 and now, government has approved, the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education has approved over 4,000 schools to operate. The very reason we have also seen where EU has constructed and rehabilitated over 100 junior secondary schools. The very reason we are seeing the FEPS, the Free Quality Education Secretariat, constructing body homes and more classrooms. The very reason we are seeing Save the Children donating 10,000 plus sets of furniture to the schools because we want to have them in school. Let me give you the statistics. In 2018, we have 1.9 million kids in school. As I speak, we have over 3.1 million kids in school. They are in school. That is the joy of the ministry. So we are making it compulsory, not because we are escaping the burden of having them in school. It's because we enjoy seeing them in school. Even when there's a burden, we enjoy it because that's what the president wants to achieve, human capacity development.
Okay, Bami, let's go through some of the messages on Facebook quickly before we continue the conversation. Eddie Grant is saying, innovation is key in education, and that is what Dr. Senge is fighting very hard to bring to that sector. With technology, we will be far better off.
Mohammed F.S. Kamara is saying, please ask the speaker what are the medical facilities the government has put in place before passing this policy.
Okay. Wuri Mamadou Tambabari says the data provided about 86,000 to 200,000 plus of girls in SS3. Are you saying all the additional data are pregnant?
I think that's all I have from my side.
Okay, and Alusain Kamara says, I see lactating girls attending school with their babies. Bravo, Mr. Best Education Minister in the world. Pregnant school kids should stay home during pregnancy until giving birth. After giving birth, a healthcare caseworker should make sure that the girl child gets back to school. But for health concerns, it is a risk of having a pregnancy in the classroom. That is from Edwina John. And finally, I think I should, all right. So Martin A.M. Silla says the problem of this government is the PR. The PR is very poor. There are a lot of good things done by the government, but they don't talk about it. So these are some of the messages. You could just go through them.
Thank you, Ola. I really don't want to be repeating what we have been discussing, but Alfonso was able to point out clearly the need for partnership, because somebody is asking the medical facilities in school for these pregnant girls. For God's sake, the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education is not Ministry of Health and Sanitation. Our mandate is quite different from the Ministry of Health and Sanitation. We provide education, they provide health. So if we want to have pregnant girls in school, it's but necessary that we have a very strong partnership. The very reason we are working on the health policy of a school, the ministry is pushing very hard to ensure that that partnership grows. Somebody is also asking whether the 206,000
200 plus
girls is
6,000
to now 200 and plus girls is all pregnant. Well, this is in the context. I am saying, and I said, in 2018 we had 84,000 girls that only access senior secondary SSS 3. But in 2023, as we speak, we have about 206,000, meaning a good number of those girls who are in SSS 3 may have been parent learners, maybe pregnant girls, who will have been expunged from the facilities of education, but they have added to the number of girls. So meaning we're having more girls now educated, more women educated, more women empowerment. That's what we're talking. I want to conclude on saying something about the acts that point to bringing youths to the table of discussion. A lot of policies that are made that concern the youths, you agree with me that any representation of a youth is not found on the table. They will make very beautiful laws or bills or policies for youth, but it does not resonate with the youth. The reason is they are not there to speak their own concerns. But in this new bill that will soon become an act, the youth advisory group has been approved, where every decision that has to do with the youth in education will be represented by the very youth to set their mind, to say what affects them. It's not about somebody thinking for me and makes law for me that will not even resonate with me. So this is the beauty of this law. And we are going to popularize it. A lot of concerns. Somebody said the problem with the ministry or the government is we really do not popularize. It's noted, and I will share that with my boss and the leadership. And I know government is also listening, and they will take appropriate actions.
Okay. So quickly, as we try to round up, earlier you said children should now have their NCRA numbers plus another number. What is the other number?
What is?
Earlier, you said now the government has agreed that kids should also have their NCRA number plus another number for school.
Yes.
So what is this other number that will be used in school?
Yes, we in data analysis, I'm not a data specialist, but I work with a boss that understands data very well. There is what we call you have to look at simulcast data.
Okay.
You have one and you have the other. Yeah, for safekeeping. NCR is charged with the responsibility of giving the national identification number as it says, national.
Yeah, that's for national purposes.
National purposes.
And he said there'll be another number to track.
So yeah, the ministry also has now the opportunity to give numbers out to pupils to be tracking their progress internally as a ministry. So we're going to do that simultaneously.
Sorry, just in a minute, someone from Facebook actually made a comment about girls, on the ban on the allowing pregnant girls to school, but he's trying to find out whether if there's any punishment for a school-going boy who impregnated the girl.
The bill has not spoken about punishment to perpetrators because the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education is not a courtroom. We really do not have to be adjudicating cases when we do not have the competence. What we have to do as a ministry is to ensure that we have our case in school.
Okay.
The law will take its course if somebody is found wanting that breaches the law.
Okay. All right, Alfonso, what will be your final say as we try to round up the program?
Thank you very much. Let me also thank members of the 5th Parliament, both sides of the aisle, unanimously passed this bill. And let me also thank them for recognizing Civil Rights Coalition for the work we do.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I stood up in that house, a round of applause for the Civil Rights Coalition because of the work we do. We work to ensure we provide public education and we advocate for policy change. One of them has been this for far too long. We've been advocating for the review or repeal of 2004 Education Act. Part of it has been repealed now. So what we want to do is to focus on public education for the public to understand this world. It's not business as usual. You that comes to construct school, it's not business as usual. The operation of school education governance in terms of education service delivery is not business as usual. The functions of the board is now clearly stated. The functions of the SMC is now clearly stated. Also, we must take cognizance of non-formal education. You have the education committee that also deals with non-formal education. You also have the education board. As he said, the youth advisory group is now part of the education board. But let me quickly say, he said young people is not being involved into governance. I think somebody who have served, the very first young person to be appointed in the board of the National Youth Commission to represent me, I served there for 2 terms. I don't want to believe that. So when it comes to mines and minerals, there are young people in the board. When it comes to SL, no, it's not now. It's not now. It's not now. It's been there. If you go back to TRC recommendation, you know what I'm talking of. I've been in this space for quite too long, so I know some of these things. It's not now. If you look at the composition of SLBC board, you have youth. We have what to call the National Youth Council. But they should be, you see, we don't want to go to all of this because they have a legitimacy to represent youth in several ministries, departments, and agencies, whether they are committees or board. This is the legitimate structures. This is the legitimate structures for youth. If you go back to the TRC, if you look at the Youth Commission Act, if you go to the Youth Commission, they will tell you the role of young people. They have their institution. It's the National Youth Council. You have district council, you have chiefdom council. That is a legitimate structure for young people. And this is why in the TRC it was recommended for 10% for young people, 30% for women. So go back to the TRC recommendation, you get all of this. So most of these institutions, the transformation of the SLBS to SLBC, all of them are part of the TRC recommendation. So young people have been, we fought for that. I am saying this because I'm the first to be appointed in the board to represent youth in the Youth Commission board where I served for 2 terms. So we created that. So that is happening, but it's unique for education because the minister thinks you should have a special young people that I should call youth advisory group in education. But they have been representing young people in other spheres for a long time now.
Okay, thank you so much, Alfonso, for joining us in the program. Bami, what will be your final word?
I also want to thank the Ministry of Basic and Senior Secondary Education for doing the hard work behind the scene to overhaul this very important bid. Since 2004, we have been working with a particular act that has everywhere. But given the kind of aspirations we are having, given the kind of speed we want to transform education, I think it's high time we started thinking that we need to have an overhaul of this. And I want to thank the CEO for using her expertise to do this in a record time. And all those who contributed to having this, I want to thank them.
Okay, so thank you so much, Augustine Bami Anthony, for joining us on the program, and also to you, Alfonso, Alfonso Manley. It's always a pleasure having you on set with us, Elizabeth.
All right, this is where we end today's edition of Wake Up Sierra Leone. Our quote for today says, "The function of education is to teach one to think intensively and to think critically. Intelligence plus character, that is the goal of true education." And it comes from Martin Luther King Jr., an American Baptist minister and activist.
We say thank you to our sponsor, Rocal Commercial Bank, for their support to the program. Continue to stay with AYV throughout the day as we have all the exciting programs coming up. So we meet next week with more interesting topics here on Wake Up Sierra Leone. We have been your presenters. I am Olainka Olukolia.
And I am Elizabeth Momo. Have a lovely weekend.
Oh yeah, Talking Point platform, TTPTV. Oh yeah, Unale we pledge, we love and loyalty to we sweet, sweet mama salute. Now we all come together as one. For tomorrow, now we go make salute.